So in this lesson we are going to look at subtracting mixed numbers with renaming. So here's an example we're going to start off with. We're going to look at 8 and 1/7, take away 5 and 3/7. So the big problem here is that if you look at this fraction here, the numerator is smaller than the denominator in the fraction. So you cannot take away 3 from 1. So what you have to do is you actually have to change this top mixed number. You're going to have to rename it so that you can subtract. So the way we're going to do that is we are going to first borrow from this whole number, and we're going to change it into a 7. And we are going to add in its place 7/7. And the reason I chose to add 7/7 is because this is equal to 1, and I wanted to match my denominator. So we see we're using sevenths. So I made a 1 using, this is like a big giant 1. I made a 1 using sevenths. So when I add these together, I get 7, and 1 plus 7 is 8. So it's 8/7. And now I can do the subtraction problem. So now I can do 8 take away 3 is 5/7, and 7 take away 5 is 2. So this would be my answer. Let's look at another example. So here's another example. Let's do 5 and 1/9, take away 3 and 5/9. And I notice first that my denominators are the same, so I don't have to worry about changing them into common denominators because I already have common denominators. But then I see my top numerator in my fraction, my top fraction is smaller than my numerator in my bottom fraction here. So that means I'm going to have to rename them. So I'm going to take my first fraction here, and I'm going to change the 5 into a 4. So I have 4 and 1/9, and I'm going to add 9/9 because 9/9 is the same as 1 whole. And now this is the same as 5 and 1/9, but instead we rename it as 4 and 10/9. And then I bring over my other fraction, so it's take away 3 and 5/9. And then I can easily say 10 take away 5 is 5/9, and then 4 take away 3 is 1. And that is our answer. So sometimes we have to rename twice, and we have to change the denominators. So for example, let's say I have 7 and 1/3, take away 3 and 1/2. So before I can go on to any other step here, I first have to make a common denominator for 3 and 2. So I ask myself, what can 3 and 2 both go into? And I notice they can both go into 6, so I'm going to first set my fractions, the fraction part of my mixed number, equal to 6ths. So to do that, I have to ask myself, 3 times what number equals 6? That'd be times 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. And then 2 times 3 is 6, so 1 times 3 is 3. And now when I look at subtracting, I have 2 take away 3, and I can't do that because this number is larger than my top number. So I'm going to rename this top mixed number. So to do that, I'm first going to change my 7 to a 6, and I'm going to add 6/6 because that is equal to the 1 I took away here. And I chose sixths as my denominator because all my denominators now have sixths. So when I add these up, I get 6 and 8 sixths. And then I'm going to bring over my other fraction, take away 3 and 3 sixths. Now I simply subtract. 8 take away 3 is 5 sixths, and 6 take away 3 is 3. So my final answer here is 3 and 5 sixths. Let's do one more example with different denominators. Let's look at 6 and 1 sixth, take away 1 and 3 fourths. So first thing I have to do, I look at my denominators. They're different, so I have to find a common denominator. And the lowest common denominator that I can use here, a number that both 4 and 6 will go into, is 12. So I'm going to set these equal to twelfths. And I'm going to do 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3 is 9. 6 times 2 is 12, so 1 times 2 is 2. And now I look at my top fraction part of my mixed number, and the 2 is smaller than the 9, so I have to rename this top mixed number because I can't subtract 2, take away 9. So to do that, I'm going to take away a whole number from the 6, turns into a 5, and I'm going to add to it 12 twelfths because that's equal to 1 whole, just like this part I took away. And I chose twelfths because all my denominators have 12. So when I rename it, I get 5 and 14 twelfths. And then I'm going to bring this part of my subtraction problem over. Take away 1 and 9 twelfths. And then I'm going to subtract. 14 take away 9 is 5 twelfths. And 5 take away 1 is 4. And I'm done. No need to simplify. There's one more type of problem you might see, and it might look like this. 3 take away 1 and 3 fourths. In the case where you have a whole number as one of your values in the subtraction problem, I can't take away 3 fourths from nothing. So I am going to have to rename this fraction, but this is actually easy because all I have to do is take away one of these whole numbers and change it into a fraction that has the same denominator as my bottom mixed number. So to do that, I'm just going to say 2 and 4 fourths. So this equals simply 2 and 4 fourths. Take away 1 and 3 fourths. And then I get as my answer 1 fourth and 1, and I'm done.